Hello mathematicians, we are starting our Unit 6 on solving quadratic equations. I'm going to start on page 2. We're going to look today at connecting quadratic functions and their roots. And for vocabulary today, we're looking at some vocabulary that we've had from our last unit. So the word factor, when it's being used as a noun, means terms that multiply together to make something larger. And we're looking at factor as a verb. We're saying it is to break apart into terms with multiplication between them. We're also going to look at the zero product property rule. It says for any real numbers a and b, if a times b is 0, then a is equal to 0 or b is equal to 0. And remember, anything times 0 is 0. So if you look at the example below, if we have these two factors, x plus 3 times x minus 1, and we're saying that when you multiply them, that's going to give you 0, then we could say that x plus 3 is 0 and x minus 1 is 0. We're going to look at this a little further, but let's start with factoring. So something that we're familiar with. It's asking us to factor x squared minus 2x minus 8 completely. So that means factor until you can't factor no more. Well, I noticed that this is trinomial. There's no GCF, so I'm going to go straight into X box. And on top, I'll have negative 8. And on the bottom, I'll have negative 2. And I'm looking for two numbers that multiply to negative 8. But when I add them, give me negative 2. And when I think of that, I would have 2 and negative 4. And if I were to put those back, I would have x squared plus 2x minus 4x minus 8. I'll break these and group them together. First terms are last two terms. Pull out the GCF. Here, x is the GCF for the first grouping, and I would have left x plus 2. And for the second, I could pull out negative 4 as a GCF, and I would have left x plus 2. And since our parentheses are the same, I could say that the factors here are x minus 4 times x plus 2. Okay? I hate when it does that. Alright. Then asking us says, well, what values of x make x minus 4 times x plus 2 0? So what values of x would make these factors equal to 0? So what I can do is next. So I'll rewrite them. Set them both equal to 0. And if I want to see what values of x would make this a true statement, x minus 4 is equal to 0, then I have to use inverse operation. So I add 4 to both sides, and I would have x is equal to 4. And I would do the same thing here. X plus 2 equals 0. If I do inverse operation, I would subtract 2 from both sides. And I would say that x is equal to negative 2. And therefore what I'm saying is that the solution to this trinomial would be x is equal to 4 and x is equal to negative 2. So now let's look at this on a graph, something that we are familiar with. Okay, and when we're going to graph, we're going to take out our bestie and we're going to put in the y equals screen, x squared minus 2x minus 8. We're then going to look at the table, so second graph, and I'm just going to copy some of it down. I'm actually just going to start at when x is negative 2, okay? And I'm going to say x is 2, well, y is 0. When x is negative 1, y is negative 5. So I'm just copying this straight from my bestie. And 4 and 0. Okay. And I'm just going to plot these points. I'm going to start with okay. Arrows. It's a horrible arrow, but whatever. Okay. So if you notice, this is my quadratic. Okay. And it makes a U shape. And something that I'm going to point out is where the roots, these solutions lie. And if you notice, they're actually right here. Okay, it's where it's intersecting the x-axis. So something I want to go over right now is that there are actual different words that mean the same thing. So the word solutions, roots, zeros, and x-intercepts all mean the same thing, okay? It's all talking about these points right here, okay? These points right here, when x is equal to negative 2 and x is equal to 4, well, those are definitely the x-intercepts of the function, okay? It's actually the roots, if we go back up, roots or zeros, if we were to solve this trinomial right here, okay, we are actually talking about the solutions, finding x. Well, we did. We found x is going to be equal to 4 and it's going to be equal to negative 2. And it actually has two solutions, two answers. And if you notice here, the type of quadratic this is, and it's a quadratic because it has 2. And if you notice, I'm trying to get another color. Our leading term has a highest degree of 2. So technically it's giving us the answer. We need to find two answers, two solutions, two roots, two zeros. Okay? And what is the connection? All right, I'm going to erase this so I have some room to write because this doesn't allow me to go any further. Okay. All right, so I'm going to actually put, I'm actually going to put the answer up here. So some connections that I noticed is that the quadratic equation has a degree, right? Or we could say it's the highest exponent of 2. So they have two answers. Okay? And we could also say that the answers are called zeros, x-intercepts, roots, and solutions. Okay, thanks, ladies.